All right, we are here. Wait, my go live button. Here we go. Now we're here. Yes. It is very excited. I am here with the catalyst for change, with the brilliant mind behind the Inspired Speakers Network that transforms the way we think about the public speaking because she helps speakers to make the lasting impact. And she's here to tell us about the new chapter in her journey. Please help me welcome. If we can all clap. I know we can all clap. We can't really hear on Instagram, but we can all clap. Please help me welcome Michele V. I am so excited to have you here and for us to have this conversation and for all of us to talk about you and make it all about how much all of us introverts like talking about ourselves, right?
Yes, yes. I like that.
Yes, putting you on the spotlight this afternoon. But let's start with Inspired Speakers Network just a little bit so everybody will get to know what is the story behind Inspires Network and what is it?
Oh, sure, absolutely. And we are also going live on my platform. So hello, my people as well. And yeah, so it was several, I don't know, a while ago. I can't remember the timing now, but a while ago, I feel like, whenever you're in your business and you kind of get this download. So I was participating in this cooperative event, and then I just realized, this is what I need to create. I need to create this network and this certification. This is the thing that's ready to birth out of me. And I just got really excited because I have done these network parties in different niches several different times, and it's really fun. It works really great for people who enjoy connecting with other people and for people who enjoy to speak and to share their thing with other people. And so I just sat down and said, what do speakers really, really want? What do they really need? And that is to get on stages. And it is not my expertise. I'm not like an agent that books people on stages, but I said, hey, if I can bring together stages and speakers, we can get on stages. And so that's why I created the Inspire Speaker Network, to be a place where speakers to come together, to connect with one another, to get booked on stages, to have a bunch of fun, and really get connected to the resources that they need. Because whenever we have community, that's where we're able to connect with really everything that we need. Just like you, I was right before we jumped on, and I was like, oh, I was telling this person about this and this person about this. Go check this out, right? So somebody who knows something that I don't know that I need. And so I just love networking parties in general because of that.
I think the concept of the networking parties, I think we've all heard about the networking events, but I think the networking parties is something that we should emphasize because I had visited a networking party and I think the idea behind the networking party is brilliant. And I think we should tell those who don't know about the networking parties and maybe thinking about the networking parties or don't know what the networking parties is. I think this is something that you should tell our listeners and those who are watching us. What is the networking party? Because when we think of a networking, especially if you are the introvert, the extroverts are like, yeah, let's go. But the introverts are like, oh, no, thank you. I don't want to do this. But networking party is like the two opposites, right? The networking party, nobody wants to really. So I think tell us about the networking party, maybe a structure, a format, and the whole idea, the concept behind it, because I think this is the most brilliant thing that I ever visited. Well, I think you're full of brilliant.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Party. Yes. Wonderful.
Yes.
Tell us.
I get it. Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually going to take a step back before I tell you the structure, because I think you asked me why I created it. And I was like, okay, I had this great idea. And so I created it. But really the reason why I created it is actually deeper than that. And, whenever you start your business as an entrepreneur, as a coach, as a speaker, you're just saying, oh, really what typically happens is someone has come up to you and said, wow, you're really good at that. Can you teach me how to do it? That's how most of us start our businesses, right? And so we have something that we're really good at, and other people are asking us, hey, how did you do that? Teach me. And so then you decide, I love doing this. It's so easy for me. I want to teach people how to do it. So I'm going to start a coaching business. I'm going to go on stages and start speaking about this. And so you're like, yes, yay. And then you go out there, you set up shop, and then you're like, where are the people? Where are they? Right? How come they're not flocking towards me? I can't believe this. I'm so good at this. Right. And so what I find is most speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs in general, they aren't marketing experts. They're not sales experts. They didn't start their business to become marketing and sales experts. And so we end up spending so much of our time doing things that we do not like, that we potentially hate doing, that we're supposed to do in order to find the clients and get them to say yes so that we can help them with the thing that we're really good at. So that's the space that I was in before I found networking parties for myself, where my coaches were saying, hey, just post on social media all the time, just spam people in their DMs, start conversations, and lead them to a coaching call with you. And you know, it was all this get sort of energy. Or it's kind of going out there and competing online saying, look at me, look at me, look at me, I'm so cool, right? And it's hard to get people's attention because everybody's doing that. And so really the concept behind the network party is, I was thinking, what can I do that would be really fun? How do I actually want to show up and serve my people and connect with people? And so it's really a serve first thing of, hey, you know what? I like to talk because I'm a speaker. I like to share with people my thing that I can help them with. I also like to talk and connect with other people. So how about I create a space that we can all do that? And the reason it works so well is because it's a space that you can shine too. So I'm inviting you. I get to take the stage, but more importantly, I'm inviting you to my stage so that you can shine and share your thing and talk about your thing that you like to talk about. And so whenever you invite people to these parties, they're like, yes, I would love to come talk about the thing that I love to talk about. And I would love to have more support on the thing and on solving the problem that I have. So that's what makes it so fun. And then as far as the party structure itself goes, it is a party because fun is my number one value. And so I was like, it's got to be fun. And that's why I even started it, right? So what's going to make this really fun? How can we keep this really energizing? How can we create this environment that people are going to want to come back to? And so it's all about you, and we have fun, and we have some time where we're all together talking, but most of the time we're doing this speed dating style of networking that it's a love-hate relationship for people because they're like, there's not enough time. But you get to meet a lot of people really quickly. And so it's great. I've heard several occasions. The number one thing that introverts say at the end is, oh, I almost didn't come because I'm an introvert and I was afraid, but I'm really glad I did because this was just a really easy space to be in. Because it's online and because you can just be with one or two people in the breakout rooms, it's a really easy space for people to be in.
I think it's also takes away, in a sense, spotlight, because a lot of times in a network events, you stand up in front of all the people and everybody's looking at you and you're thinking like, oh, no, I don't want to do this. But at the events that you come up with a different format where it is one-on-one, when you do feel like it's a personal connection, where it is that what can I do for you versus what can you do for me? Like, what do you do? How can you be helpful versus, what can I help you with? That's kind of the approach. And I think that kind of almost an intimate approach with giving versus what can I take from you? How can you be helpful? And I think that's what makes you and your parties so much different. And that's what I wanted to emphasize, to tell the world this is different.
Yes. Now that you're bringing that up, it's also because if you go to an in-person network party, it's kind of like, okay, cool, go do your thing, mingle, and so you have to awkwardly, it's kind of like being a teenager at your dance or whatever. Like you're like awkwardly approaching people and you're having to start the conversation and you're having to come up with all the topics and all of that. So in the virtual space is a lot easier because I already came up with the questions for you. And and the reason that I do put you in the breakout room is so I can cut you off too. so like, I'm going to ask you a question, like you said, that's surface based, like, okay, what challenge do you have? And tell the other person, give some feedback or a connection for the other person, or share your message and the other person can give you feedback on your message so that you can make it so that it's clearer or something like that. So I'm giving you a prompt. I'm putting it with these there's 2 to 3 people in each room. And then you have the opportunity to serve each other. And then you don't have to worry about cutting the conversation if you are sick of it and you want to get out, because that just happens automatically. And then for those people who you're like, man, I want to connect with them more. Cool. Here's everybody's information. For those people that you want to continue talking to, you can connect with them after. And so I think it's a very easy, I think it is a really easy environment. It's eliminating a lot of the awkwardness that comes with networking.
So you can find your people and you don't have to feel bad for not having to come up with the lame excuses for not wanting to see another people.
Or trying to excuse yourself. Or if you get with the really talky person that's taking all of your attention, you're like, oh, sorry, we went back to the main room,
Right. It wasn't me. It was the host.
Right. For the most part, there's actually really amazing people show up. Like, we really have a really good crowd that comes as well. So there's not too many of those, but everybody's different. You don't jive with everybody that's going to come to the group, for sure.
I mean, I saw it says you don't want to like everybody. You don't even like everybody. So you don't have to worry about everybody's liking you, right? It's like that would be too crazy if everybody would like you. It's like, wait, too much, especially for the introvert. That's too much. And we are slowly moving to how amazing you as a coach, as a public speaking coach, as a coach, as a speaker coach, because this is something that you do as well to help. As you mentioning, you have the prompts, you have the questions, and that's what you help speakers as well, to help them polish their message. And I think this is something that you do very well. You help speakers to connect with their audience, to make the impact. So what is some things, I know there's so much to it with the public speaking, with working with the speakers, and there's a very individual approach. But what is that? You tune that difference between speaking at them versus connecting with the audience. And I think there's a few words that there is to be said of that difference between just being a speaker and being that impactful speaker. And this is what you coach. This is what you help speakers to become. Maybe a few things that you can speak on that, or how did you, I know I can't just say, how do you do that? Because you can be here for days, for maybe months, but maybe, right.
Yes, absolutely. So
what do you have to say about that?
What do I have to say? I have lots to say. Okay, so a couple of things. One is I'm slightly different than what I'm finding is I'm different than most speaker coaches in that I'm really finding that my space is that connection community space as well as the speaking space. So I brought my board because I can't go anywhere without it. But really, we talked about the joyful movement, and what I find is that most speakers that I attract anyway in the speaking coaching space is they don't just want to be speakers. They don't just want to be coaches. They want to be movement makers. They want to have a movement. They want to create a movement. So the speaking has an end in mind. And you were talking about helping kids speak, and their main reason for wanting to speak is more about building confidence. It's about communication. And so depending on, people have different motivations for learning how to speak, right? And so a lot of the people that I run into, they want to have their movement, and then they're like, they said, oh, you're really good at that, but you're good at helping people have hope again. You're good at helping them get a result and solve a problem that's going to change their life. And so because of that, many of them have these movements that they want to create. And so really, to have your movement, you've got the speaking part of, you want to speak your message, which is what we both talk about. And in that sense, I'm all about connection. Everything's about connection with me. Connect, right? It's all about connection. And so you're not just going to say your message, but you're going to do it in a way that they actually want to hear it. So instead of, like I said earlier, standing up, waving your hands around, saying, look at me, it's whenever I speak, it's going to be all about you. Whenever I tell my story, it's going to be your story. Whenever I'm speaking, I'm not going to be over here thinking, oh, I hope I say the right thing, or I hope I don't mess up and say like or too many times, or am I wearing, how's my hair? You can do all of that before you get on. And then when you get on, it's all about them, and you're over there with them. And how am I going to help them get to the result that they really want? How am I going to help them get over the problem that they have right now? What can I do that's going to empower them to take the next step? And so then it becomes all about them, and my speaking then becomes all about you, right? And when I tell my story, then I'm telling, how you, right? Have you ever felt this? Have you ever been in that spot where, and then you do this and this and this and this. So it's really, I'm drawing I'm talking about my experience, but it's your experience. It's our common experience. When you go to network parties and you are talking to that person and you really want to leave and you can't leave, right? So it's that kind of thing and you're like, yes. I've had that experience before. And so then it draws you into the speech. So there's a hot tip on the how.
What about that other two sides?
We have to get the rest of the triangle. Yes.
So you have to finish that triangle. So that would be the tip for us to want to come to you and get the
rest of the triangle.
Yes.
So then the second, you have to speak. I think the other piece that we overlook is just being the leader, the joyful leader, which is what we just talked about, confidence. Oh, excuse me, let me get over here. Okay. A lot of people who come to the network party, they say, I want to get on stages. I want to get on bigger stages. I want to get on paid stages. But it's really, are you the leader? Are you the speaker that can hold that stage energetically? Can you stand up there with confidence? If I gave you a stage with 2,000 people, could you actually get up there and speak and share that message? Could you connect with them? Would you get super nervous? Whenever we think about our favorite leaders, if I had you list out, which you can in the comments, go ahead and list out your favorite leaders of movements. And if you listed out your favorite leader, and then I said, why are they your favorite leader? Typically the answers that I get isn't, oh, well, this is what they did. It's, this is who they are, right? Yes. They're confident. They're service first. They care. They're determined. They never give up. They are so energizing, right? So it's all about who they're being. So the reason that you're not on those big stages is because you aren't the person that's able to hold those big stages yet. Right? And then the third piece is to build your community. Not that you can read my handwriting, my scratchy handwriting, but the third piece is to build your community, because this is true for, this is everybody. This is what I'm really realizing is the missing piece for most people is building your community. Because if you don't have a community, you don't have a movement. If you don't have a community, whenever you show up on stage and you give your speech, and then people want to follow you, where are they going to go? Where are you going to put them? Where are you going to nurture them? If you don't have a community, you don't have a movement. Who are your champions of your movement? Who is going to refer you to other people and tag other people in the posts that you make and all that? If you haven't built that community and you've got a place that you're nurturing them, and that community also solves a lot of the key problems that speakers and coaches have, which is the income problem and the problem that we talked about, the leads problem at the beginning. Right? We don't want to be doing marketing all day long. We don't want to be doing sales all day long. We just want to show up and speak and have people come to us, right? And if I have a community, if I host an event and invite people to my community through that event, then all I have to do is host my event, keep inviting people to my community through that event. And then now I have a community, and I don't have to, and all I get to do all day long is speak. We talked about this too. I was like, I have a virtual assistant that handles most everything, because all I want to do is show up and host my network parties and interview on other people's podcasts and create stuff and coach people. And that's all I want to be doing in my business. So there was a long
well, no. I think this is beautifully brings us to the joyful revolution that you are starting. And I think this is the beautiful gateway into that joyful revolution that you are starting, because this movement that you just talked about, the last piece of the community, of the movement, because that's what we want as a speakers. We want this community, we want this movement, because this movement starts this wave, starts this revolution. So tell us about this joyful revolution that you are starting, because who doesn't want to start a revolution?
Exactly. Right. Yes.
In every revolution, there is an introvert who thought of it. So tell us all about it.
So true. Yes. So to get kind of part of it is, okay, a couple of things. One is it all comes down to what we do as business owners, right? It all comes back to our core values of what are we here to do? What are we here to accomplish? And one of my core values is preparation. And it's preparing for the future, and it's preparing the community for the future. That's like really what I feel my purpose is. And just looking at what's going on in the world right now and where we're at just on the cycle of things as a nation, that we are entering this time of war and revolution and a remixing of things. Old systems that have been in place for a long time are starting to get outdated, and it's time for a shakeup, right? And I'm sure we could list them all off, but politics, environment, we need an environmental revolution. There's health.
Education system. Should we just throw
education system? Yeah, almost every system that we have needs a revamp, especially since, I mean, think about colleges. Colleges are kind of getting to be, they don't sit in the same place that they used to hold. And so really knowing that there's going to be a shakeup either way, why don't we create joyful revolutions? If there's going to be a revolution, why not have it be a joyful one where we're calling people together, where we're collaborating, where we're connecting, where we're bringing a positive change into the world that we so desperately need. And another core belief that I have is that we're really coming out of the age of information. It's so much at our fingertips. It takes me 2 seconds to ask ChatGPT any question I have on my mind. And it takes me 2 seconds to have it search the whole internet for my answers. Okay, I have the information, right? But it's not the age of information anymore. We're coming into the age of influence, right? Where this war and this chaos comes, who is going to be standing in place as a leader with their community, with their movement, making a difference during this time? Because if you're just a speaker that's standing alone and you're going on other people's stages, how much influence do you really have? Versus I have a community and a movement that I've built that loves me, and I have something to stand for. This community is going to keep growing and moving long past whenever I'm not here anymore. If you take Martin Luther King, for example, right? He was one of the major figures of that movement. He got killed because of it, but the movement continued because he put the movement into the hearts of his people. And we don't want to die for our movements. None of us do, but eventually all of us will die. And think about Bob Proctor. He was a speaker, but he had a movement, and that movement continues long after he's gone. So it's about legacy. It's all the things, but that's my passion, is this joyful movement. Let's put more mics in the hands of people who want to create joyful revolutions.
That is so powerful. I think each one of us would want to leave the lasting impact, even when we're not around anymore. Just like with our children, we want them to behave when we're not there. We still want them to live the value. We want them to act with the integrity, no matter what. And we want that movement. We want our beliefs. We want that to last. And with that question, I want to lead to a lot of us as speakers, and we all have that doubt that maybe our message, maybe our impact is not that big. Maybe it's not worth the movement. Maybe it's not worth the stage. Maybe it's not worth the message just yet. Mm-hmm. What would you say to some of us, as an introvert especially, we have our doubts often with the imposter syndromes. We also think, maybe I'm not ready yet. Maybe it's not time yet. Maybe I need to sit and watch a little more, come to a little more parties. Maybe I'm just like a little back. Like, I'm not enough yet. I'm not there yet.
Mhm.
What would you say to those of us who have our doubts and don't think that our message is ready yet, or not powerful enough or impactful enough? What would you say to us with doubts?
I was actually listening to Alex Hormozy speak one time, and he was talking about, he was just listing off the commonalities that successful people have. And he said one of them is this drive, this vision, and this drive to move forward and keep going no matter what. And then there was three of them. I can't remember all three, so sorry. But one of the other ones, apologies. The other one that really, really impressed me, though, was the exact opposite. They find that the most successful people are the most insecure, in the sense that they don't feel good enough. Every single one of them. That's one of their defining characteristics, is that they don't feel good enough. And I really admire, I'm going to miss I'll think of his name here in a minute, but there's this huge.
Ask ChatGPT.
Yes, that's GPT. There's this business owner. Exactly. There's this business owner that he speaks all over the place. I can't think of his name right now, but and I met him. I took a picture. Anyways, he has thousands and millions of dollars, and he buys and sells $1 million businesses. And he's really big on. He's really, one of his core values is vulnerability. And whenever he gets on stage, he invites people on stage and he asks them to be really vulnerable with the whole audience. But he says, my motivation is, I don't feel good enough. I feel depressed. I don't feel good enough. And this is my way of kind of redeeming myself. If I don't get out there, how am I going to ever feel good enough if I don't get out there and do something for somebody else? So there's kind of that angle of it, of just, you're in with the best of us and you're never really going to be ready. And then the other thing I would say too is that people aren't looking for perfect people either. So going back to this speaker that I will have to comment about who this is, but going back to this speaker, and Brene Brown also, right? The power of vulnerability. When we open up to people and we're vulnerable with them and we tell them how we're not perfect, how I'm struggling with this, or I was struggling with this, and it was really awful. And it's the same experience that you have, then we connect with them. Just like I was saying at the beginning, whenever I started my business, I was spamming people. I was doing all the things that they tell you to do that's not fun and makes you feel icky, right? And I was doing all those things. And other people who've done those things really connect with me, because I'm not perfect. I didn't have it all together. I don't know everything. I'll just tell people straight up, just like I did, hey, I'm not an expert at getting you on stage. That's not what I do, right? And so being really real and vulnerable with people, that makes them understand that, wow, they're out there doing something, even though they're imperfect, and so I can too. So it's part of your superpower, really.
Wow, I think putting it in those words as a superpower of not being perfect, because in today's world of seeking perfection with the social media drive, and reminding our listeners or whoever watching us that everybody has to start somewhere, right? You have to learn, and somebody has to hear your message. Somebody needs to hear that you're not perfect and you started, and it's refreshing to see someone who is not perfect and making mistakes and can't find the buttons. For those of you who didn't see us from the beginning, I couldn't find the go live button. So
Exactly.
being wondering, figuring this out.
I think one of your strongest selling points too is introverts. I'm an introvert and I'm a speaker, right? And that's what really draws people to you, because you say, this is not my number one thing that I just lights me up. Right?
I'm overcoming my fears every time I have to turn the camera on. And I had some of my stories when I would, forget the speeches in the very beginning. It's like, okay, I know I wrote it, I know I memorized it, but this microphone is freaking me out and I can't think of it. Like, I can't do it. And one of my first interviews, it's like, I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Oh, really? Yeah, exactly. But they see you and they're like, wow, if she can do it, And she teaches this stuff, right? And then I can
Right? That's crazy. I don't know why would anybody would come in. It's like, wait, don't tell me you're an introvert. I was like, yeah, I am. And I was like, stop it. Like, I can teach you how. And I was like, really? I was like, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just such a powerful point of your business and your story and what attracts people to you, for sure.
I sure hope so. So as we wrapping this up, I want to ask you for the last words of inspiration. How do we? What would you want to leave our viewers, our listeners with a few words of inspiration from me to the world?
Yes, absolutely. What do I want to say at the very end?
I know,
I would
right?
say, I should have this ending. We need to talk about. I would say, kind of echoing what we were just talking about, that everybody wants to have a community. Everybody wants to be the one on stage in front of thousands of people. Not everybody, but everybody who wants to speak wants this, right? So a lot of people want this, right? But we don't necessarily want to build it. And whenever we see people who have that, I think we discount the fact that it took them years to get there and to become that person that holds that stage, that commands that stage. And then because of that, we think, oh, well, they're so much better than me. They have this, this, and this that I don't have, so I better not start. Instead of asking ourselves, what did they have that I don't have? And then start building it one at a time. So it's not too late to start. It's not going to take you too long. You're going to underestimate what you do in a year, and overestimate what you do in a year, but you underestimate what you can do in 10 years. Tony Robbins says that all the time, that the momentum and as you continue on it, it builds and it grows exponentially. It's just that first part of it, of stepping forward, of creating, making your speech, starting to build your community, starting to become the leader. That is the part that's the hardest. But once you get started, you can absolutely become exactly who you desire to become.
And how do we find you, for those who are listening, watching, if they do want to make that first baby steps to build the community, to step outside their comfort zone, to face their fears and start that shaky voice?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have two things going on. Always we have the speaker network that you talked about. So it's inspirespeakernetwork.com. You can RSVP. It's free. And you can come. You can have that safe space to talk to people, pitch your message, all that stuff. And also get on these stages. We kind of start at the bottom and work our way up of these neighbor stages is what we call them, which we didn't talk about as much here, but and then the other thing that we have going on, yes, I'm like, that's like another conversation, but kind of going off of what we just said of, hey, just build your way up. Maybe you're not ready really to hold those big stages, but what stages are you ready for? And just looking to those neighbor stages, the stages that are on the same level as you, and continuing to book on those stages. And then you're going to be getting on bigger and bigger stages as you go along, as you grow. And then the other thing that we have going on in January is this workshop series. It's a 4-part workshop series in January. So I invited some friends of mine from the network group. So come on in, because you get invited to things like this, to put together this series that's really going to help entrepreneurs, speakers, coaches to launch themselves forward in 2025. And so we have 4 different speakers. So the first one is with Cornelia Cohen, and she teaches you how to get clear on your goals and then move all the energy blocks out of the way so that you can actually receive the goals. Then we have Ron, who does organization and shows you how to organize your whole business so that you can find what's working, what's not working, accelerate the parts that are working, and put it into a space anyways, he has a brilliant system. So he's going to come talk on Wednesday. And then I'm going to talk about specifically the community building piece and how to leverage these network parties that I use. They can use them in any niche. They work in almost any niche. I've never found one that I haven't seen it work in. So we leverage those to build your community very, very quickly. So that's what I'm going to talk about. And then we have another lady who comes and talks about how you can use a retreat in your business to have fun and sell more and all the good things. So that's all that's going on in January, but that series is available at inspirespeakerschool.com/thrive 2025.
That sounds awesome. Sounds like something that we can all join. And even if we are not there yet, like you said, baby steps. It's always a baby steps, and you can just show up, sit in the corner, listen and observe, and join when you're ready. You
Absolutely.
never know when you feel inspired and would want to jump in, and this is the perfect space to try it out.
Absolutely. One more quick thing. I
Yes.
think what network parties and connecting with other people that have the same goal as you, that are working on the same thing in the same industry, I think they give you the opportunity to realize that these people are just like me, right? They put their pants on one leg at a time, right? Like they're the same as I am. Or even sometimes, I don't know if you've been to those network events where you're like, how are they making more money than me? Or like, how are they getting on these stages when I can actually speak better than them, right? And it really gives you, not to compare yourself to other people, but it gives you confidence that, hey, I'm just as good as these people. And I'm better at them in my own way because I'm unique and then they are, and I can command the stage. I can get out there. I can make this happen.
I know. I keep reminding myself there's this little say that says somebody less qualified than you is doing and making money of something that you dream of doing.
100%.
I keep reminding myself, and I'm thinking back at some of the workshops that I've done, at some of the things that I bought online and I participated in, and I sat through, and I'm thinking, I paid how much for this? And what is this? So yes, you are, whoever is listening, watching us, you are amazing. You have great ideas, whatever passion, thoughts, ideas, they are valid and they worth the world hearing it. Your story is out there for someone and someone needs to hear it. And Michele V is there to help you get that message to the community, to those who need to hear it, because it's valuable. Somebody needs to hear your message. Somebody out there is waiting to hear that message because they need it to survive. They need it to continue. They need it to thrive. They need it. They need your message. And Michele is there to help you get it out there with the community, with the impact, with the powerful force that she will help you to create it. So thank you for being here with us. It's been such an honor to have this conversation with you. We've learned so much, and this triangle is worth itself, priceless. I shouldn't say worth, it's priceless, just for you to show us that there's just these three elements and we can all learn from you going forward. Thank you for being here with us.
Yes, thank you so much.